Once some of the beings realized that I wasn't who they thought I was, is when I started hearing, "This is a human? You're a woman? No, stop. We can't do this to a human." Then they also stayed around to defend me from further incoming attacks. Since part of a lot of people's souls is of the real Satan and or Jesus, and because of the someone calling me Satan and all of the outer projections that I was getting of dark aspects of others, I received these attacks that were meant to stop the evil that much of the universe believed was created by him. They were intended to prevent undesirable events from happening, events that were believed in past, present, and future to come about, because of the progressively accepted belief that became a future projection of some great evil period or creation that would happen at the end of time. You all know what I'm talking about. The entire universe was against me for 3 years. I was taking the blame and punishment for everything evil as a human. The reason for the attacks and prayers against finances is because money was believed to be evil in the past, so was sexuality. Every single human being on earth is here because of sexuality. All right, I'm going to bring up a message from Paul. This will give you inspiration to read Revelation and other parts of the Bible a little differently. Wait until I'm finished with this, though. Actually, I'm going to wait. I'll explain it later. I'm going to read the rest of this. Those from the past and of the future have said they now know that money isn't evil because they witnessed my life for 3 years and how the current society of humanity must pay money to survive. And they now believe money is important to be able to live a high quality of life. They have apologized. I understand that everyone lives his or her own life and has their own problems to deal with. But no one has ever before gone through what I've gone through. I can almost hear the eye rolls and thoughts that take people back to when they've gone through something difficult. I tried discussing it with a few friends and had received a little emotional support, yet it still had not been understood by them fully. I know how to heal. I know it's not my own thoughts. I understand a lot more than they think. And the answer is not just ignore it, or why don't you try this? Someone else told me that it couldn't be something coming from externally. This is from their own perception of what they've gone through. This is why I said open your mind. No one has gone through this. This is something everyone will know about in the future. See, the problem with the support I've received from talking about it with others is this. It hasn't been that supportive. It's been one-upping. Mostly, some have been very supportive, and others thinking that they know all the answers. There's a difference between someone offering advice as if it's asked for and someone who wants to puff himself up in hopes that he can be recognized for something he's gone through that was never acknowledged by anyone. What that does is completely takes away the support that the one reaching out needs. And it also completely invalidates the experience of someone who has literally just been through the lowest parts of hell and other places. No, you haven't walked through that as a human. I have, and probably helped heal and save their shadows and shadows of their descendants without even wanting to or trying. If you believe you've walked through hell, it was your own personal state of being in which you existed. If you got through it, you were able to change the flow of your thought patterns and get through some emotions that were keeping you low. It was your own personal experience of hell, your own astral space, if you will. My experience through hell did not involve myself. In fact, it was selfless because it involved the higher good of all and had nothing to do with me at all. They needed me and my energy there. I know how to get myself out of any personal states of being that may resemble hell. I've actually helped people through similar before. This was nothing like that. This was deep, hidden, unseen, spiritual, and soul, and demons that were not even mine. Think about what prayers you've heard from those who may have been speaking out with good intentions against someone named Satan. Try to remember the things you've heard others say in anger or in projection of blame against someone named Satan. Now imagine all the things that have been prayed, spoken out against, and cursed that were made throughout time. Even during the times, things that aren't seen as evil now were seen as evil in the past when some of that was spoken out. I received the hate for that. The blame, past, present, and future, hit me as a human. The hopes and prayers sent out that he goes down and that he must burn in hell and he should be stopped before he does anything at all, etc. No, really. Think about what all had been spoken out against someone who had or would have that name. It was attacks and intention toward the soul and life. The ramifications of words and intentions must land somewhere upon someone. It is energy. In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. It was felt by Jesus in the past. Myself in 2021 through 2023 AD, hopefully not longer, and Satan in the future. Tell me who else would still be alive and standing after having been battled by the universe for 3 years. Nobody I know. Instead of bringing evil upon the earth and being someone or something who created wickedness and was a beast, we brought the light. Lower heaven. I was seen as, heard as, and believed to be either Satan or Jesus. They saw whichever they least resonated in their beliefs during the unintentional on my part travels of my non-physical body. During this time, which was a period of several months, I had no understanding of what was happening or why they saw me that way, or how to explain it to anyone, because no one could see it. It looked like I was just depressed. I simply took it one moment at a time. Literally. Not one day at a time, one moment. The Garden of Eden, Eve, Lilith, Anna, grandmother of Jesus, the astral energies of Isis and Cleopatra, the egos of the archangels and Jesus' disciples, the collective period after Jesus' death, Jesus' resurrection. I was in the astral dimension of these spaces while in human form. The astral dimension is what is commonly known as the fourth dimension, and the earth plane, the third dimension. A better description of this is all the projections, past, present, and future, were projected towards me. And what happens is whatever is within and around you reflects into the next dimension, which is your subconscious. So I was receiving the subconscious and the astral dimension of the energies that were projected upon me. That's a better description of what happened. Because they thought I was Satan. As events take place in the third, residual energy flows upward into the fourth from thoughts and emotions. So I experienced the emotions with them for the purpose of holding their heaviness so that it could be transmuted into lighter by feeling through all of them. We also shared communications. This was Eden's message. And I think it was Adam. But Adam, at least in the subconscious of whomever, was humble. He was a leader, yeah. So anyway, Eden was heaven. So he was delivering a message for Eden. Eden was heaven. The waters were many, and the taking was all. I need a drink. It's funny that he said that, because later I was describing the Holy Spirit and how it feels like a drink. Sparkles. Trees, massive. Leaves in my hair. Long dried branches with leaves for shelter. Rain. Dew all over. Wet. Homemade wooden beads. Large mammals like cows to ride. Looked like a white toupee on its head. Horns for blowing. Mud baths. Volcano. Flying animals. vines, golden rock, bell-shaped plants with dots. Felt trapped, or more like wanting to see what else was out there, what else to experience, to feel. Smoke through the trees, had to see where it was coming from. Deep forest, followed it, thick white smoke, and eggs. I just realized, I'm like, what is the X for, I wonder? X's and O's is like hugs and kisses. Okay, they seem to be missing inner guidance, and instead we're relying on external direction. So I am relaying messages, but also what I was feeling in those spaces. So it was very revealing for me, so that I can share it with you. So why would anyone want to stop these? I carried the snake energy with me for a period. It came up through my left foot and made its way to settle in my hamstring area. Although the snake may not have been a physical part of the Garden of Eden, it was created in the astral dimension because of the place because of beliefs. The snake was gentle, heavy, slow-moving, and uncertain of where to go. It was as if he wanted to find somewhere to hide, where it wouldn't get in the way of anyone, kind of like it felt like it was a burden. So the snake identified with feeling like a burden. This one was with me for about a year. As this energy transmuted, it became lighter in weight and smaller in size, eventually being ascended. I deeply resonated with Adam's energy. It's difficult for me to explain his message, though, because I feel like if I typed it out, it would look like a message from myself, and you can find those all throughout here. Eve suffered from codependency and was homesick. She was comfortable with being controlled, even if Adam didn't control her. Since she had low self-worth, she relied on the validation from others to help her feel she even existed. She also suffered the loss of a son, whom she implied to me that was unjust and gave her unrest. It was as if her ghost was continually searching for him. This was Eve's message. There was once a very loud sound, like a rocket, always in the air. It was like a ship, but not in the water. My name is Eva. I am the problem. I was alone. They say I ate an apple. The one... ... She was missing her primal sexuality. Lilith was more whole than people commonly believe. She experienced a lot of blame and suffering because of universal beliefs that what she was evil. She was something that we, as a whole, have been fighting to integrate for centuries. Because of what the majority believed for so long, the astral Lilith, which is the Lilith that came about from people's beliefs, was exactly that, taking blame and hurting others who she perceived to be able to be their natural selves, because instead of her feeling free to be able to do that, she would have had to succumb to control and conformity. Anna, grandmother of Jesus, had an inner knowing that seemed to reveal to her who I really was and what was being done, even though I still didn't know. She imparted to me some of her wisdom during a vision in which I had gone within to experience. That wisdom is nearly impossible to convey in verbal language, as it is wisdom that one must go within to find for himself, like buried treasure. She didn't seem to be missing anything. Since I may have been holding her shadow, the fact that she made eye contact with me during the vision tells me that she had met her shadow and had integrated much or possibly even all of it during her life. I didn't experience any heavy emotions from her that needed transmutation, so she was already coming into wholeness in her life before the birth of Jesus. It was as if she was comfortable with me and knew me more deeply than I would have guessed. The Egyptian energies of Isis and Cleopatra were incredibly liberating. I deeply resonated with this as well. They seemed to have felt some blame, but they didn't identify with it, and they were not against Jesus at all. They were comfortable with themselves, and it was a large, fierce, mystical, and freeing energy. This was when I began belly dancing, and I felt inspired to do Egyptian-style makeup. I remember even trying to think of different natural substances that I could use as eyeliner. This was also the time I began my OnlyFans account. I seem to have carried with me or remembered that sensuality is natural, and the human body, especially female, is deliciously curvy and sensual, a sight and sensation meant to receive and to give pleasure, whether through touch, taste, smell, or another. I seem to remember that our bodies are outrageously beautiful, and that it's silly to see it as wrong, that it's downright wrong in itself to look at it in shame or perversion at all. Our bodies are much like a gift that we've been presented, one useful means of many for us to expand love within and around ourselves. After feeling liberated, there was a period that I now believe was an over-identification with one of their experiences. I felt it, but it wasn't mine. Since I didn't yet understand what was happening with my non-physical body or emotions, it was hard to make sense of. I was grieving the loss of someone close to me. This has been way too much for a human to experience, okay? So please forgive me for having to overcome a lot of like triggering. If you've had PTSD, you know what that is. The thing is, I've been at war, but no one can see it. And you know, if I was talking to someone and telling them about it, and they've been like, so for instance, like in the army or something like that, they would have battle scars, and they could tell, but you know, people would understand them. Yeah, or you know, like this is very, very, very difficult to explain, and actually for me to even read, because I'm literally still, you know, I'm very much trying to overcome PTSD, and I'm reading this to you, because I feel like this is what will help you and others understand. It's an open book, you know. It's not you know, it's too many beliefs that I'm going to keep reading. I was grieving the loss of someone close to me, even though I hadn't lost anyone in my life. There were two different individuals that one or both felt incredible amounts of grief and heartache over losing. Some of you may know the story of Isis and Cleopatra. If you don't, it's a good study. It was almost as if it was impossible to stop dwelling upon. At one point, I was grieving so deeply that I went into a bedroom closet to lie in the corner while my daughter was sleeping on the bed. I wailed deeply and even felt some rage over it that I just allowed to flow as I was curled up in a ball on the floor. Soon after, the impressions that we were gathering the pieces of someone who was lost was prominent in my being. If you study those legends or stories, then you'll understand that. They weren't missing anything until they lost someone who they believed made them feel whole. The egos of the archangels were gentle, soft, tall. They were somewhat smothering like I am, but in a comforting way. There wasn't much talking. It was more like communication through impressions, to which I was accustomed. Prior to this experience, they were helpful and empathetic. There seemed to be only one who was against me. Descend her from above for almost a year. It did feel as if he walked up the back of my aura to stand above me to say that. It also felt as if he had some sort of wand that he helped to shove down my crown. He was battling emotions deep within that hadn't been addressed, that caused him to feel less than or small, so he wanted to be bigger. The rest seemed to quickly understand what I was doing that I didn't even understand at the time. They were givers, yet receptive, even from the masculine side, because they were more whole, I believe. The experience with them lasted a few days. After that, I felt myself taken higher and more remote. It felt like wind and water mist. I also felt colors, as if my being was tasting various flavors of fruit. I recognized this sensory experience somehow. Before being able to put my finger on where I was this time, I was told it was the Archangel's light. At first, it felt like a stripping down. Remember, I'm trying to live my normal life, too, because this wasn't meant for me. At first, it felt like a stripping down of my aura by way of a whirlwind. I was driving down the road in my car when this happened. Now I am seeing that it may have felt like a stripping down because I had been having deeply painful experiences. So I was working on raising the vibrations of my thoughts and processes. I was perceiving it to be that which is a lower vibrational perspective, but now I am seeing that it was like a wash to clear away the debris that I had picked up. The colors were like chiffon, but softer. They danced around me in a flow, and I felt like my faith and hope was replenished there. The disciples of Jesus, there were many. It was the shadows of their egos that I met. The aspects of them that they hadn't fully integrated during their time on earth. The actual disciples had much work to do. We can only integrate so much during our physical time here. They were assholes. Since they were the shadows of their egos, which is like the hate, they were nothing like to whom they belonged, personality-wise, condescending, holier than thou. Do you know who I am? You don't belong in this astral. Textbook definition of narcissists. This was when I realized that the beliefs that one holds are what determines the atmosphere of his or her astral space or subconscious. And since they were projected onto me, I was able to hear and experience what reflected into my own subconscious or astral space. Their thoughts and beliefs are what brought in around them and me what seemed like astral rooms or spaces that they thought were their astral, which is what had been keeping them stuck in the same space. Close-minded. They were correct. I didn't belong in their astral space. When they saw me just as they believed Satan to be, from their perspective, from the time which they became trapped in those dimensions. This was before truth had been revealed, that demons are actually rejected shadows and parts of us that hadn't been shown light. Since the predominant ways, beliefs, and ideas generally created more division, all darkness was believed to be demons or Satan and needed to be commanded away. The actual disciples eventually became aware of the truth. But since they believed that, that's what they did to me. Now, to be clear, for clarity, realize that we as humans must have some dark aspects in order to be here. And if we were all light only, what would we be doing here at all? What would we be doing? Vibrationally, we have to have some dark to be here as humans. It's not our bodies that's darkness. Okay? They thought I was a demon, or full of demons, is what I heard, when I was actually in the process of healing a lot of dark aspects that weren't mine, and also holding their darkness that was present in their astral spaces, even though I didn't choose that. So that's what they saw. As humans, we also naturally have darker aspects of ourselves within so that we can heal them. Remember? Energetic alignment, integration. It happens with babies too. Most of the time, they are our feminine aspects. They saw that too. Another reason they thought I was evil and tried to get me to go away were because of things like, I am for homosexuality. I am sexual. I use profanity. I listen to different types of music. I do makeup. I earn money. I think for myself and don't take orders from anyone. I love myself. I study astrology. I love doing cards that some may call tarot. I do not do witchcraft, nor do I perform any spells. I got punished for crying in my literal personal space while I was crying on the floor like God, yelling out, hoping for an answer. And I heard, he can't hear you anymore, ha ha ha. Imagine that. Imagine doing that. Imagine doing that when you're by yourself. It was also impossible for me to hear my inner self much the entire time. Not only did it feel as if that was all covered up from projections, but there were considerable amounts of talking around me as if I weren't even there. They were over me. Oh, listen to her crying like a crybaby. It's not that bad. I was on my knees yelling for God, feeling like someone was punching me in my soul, and they were wanting to make it worse. It was extreme hate. There were also beings traveling in the astral spaces during those times laughing while I was crying. There's no way she feels all of this. They were calling it lower and higher astral. Anyone they perceived as being higher was their God, and anyone they perceived as being lower, they were God over. I had never before experienced or heard anyone saying lower and higher astral, nor did I ever hear anyone actually speaking from an astral space. It was like a hierarchy, and they all wanted me at the very bottom of it. This is why I kept hearing, we don't want you in our astral. Why are you here? You can't do that in this astral, as I was going about living my human life. Over time, they began realizing that I was a human female. This took about a year. They would say things like, come out of her! Satan, come out now! Over me. I could feel the power of their yelling those things out right next to me, and it moved my physical body. And they would think that the demon was moving my body. They had started trying to defend and help me by speaking those commands over me, because that's what they were used to doing and seeing others do. Obviously, they still hadn't realized what I was holding and healing. There were those who yelled, "What are you doing to my astral? We don't want you here." It had become their comfort zone. You see, comfort zone, not being in the flow, that's also hellacious. Near the top of this hierarchy, I stood up to an ego battle and won. Remember, I am a human being, and no one knew. But all I've been trying to do is survive. Immediately, I sensed this being grow in height from anger. Then I was beaten with some sort of energetic spark that felt like electrical shock. I was at dinner with my daughter in public and had to leave the table to lay on the bathroom floor while my body shook. I cried for a second, wiped my eyes, and then went back to the table with my daughter to act like nothing happened, because no one can see this here. It was happening to the other parts of myself that are not my physical being. I noticed that periodically I would get this sensation of the train station within, and I've realized that it was necessary to become like that in the past, so that energies could flow one way or the other, dependent upon their vibrations. There was a being, but I'm not an angel. I'm a human. There was a being who seemed to be made entirely of vortices. He resided between the higher heaven layer and the earth layer. He would come near me, and I'd feel portals being created around me as close as my skin. I would send him away and heard someone say he didn't know what else to do. There were beings, what someone called demons, who came into my space around different areas of my body through the portals that were accidentally created by the portal creation energetic being who didn't know what to do. He took up a lot of space, and I felt like he didn't want to do that anymore. It was almost as if he was uncertain of his purpose, if his purpose could actually be something else. He did have compassion because he didn't want to hurt anyone. The following experience has something to do with after the crucifixion of Jesus, the collective period afterward, and his resurrection. Remember, this has to do with projections upon myself. Hold on. In fall of 2022, I experienced what felt and heard like a pop in my heart space. I became pale and dizzy, so I stumbled to my daughter's bedroom and asked them to take me to the emergency room. On the way there, I told her to always remember how much I love her, in case something happened to me. I'm not a hypochondriac by any means. I did, for some reason, feel like it was my time to go, though, and I was at peace with it. They loaded me up with EKG stickers, did an MRI, and hooked me up to saline solution. The pop, or what felt like an explosion of sorts, couldn't be explained medically, so the diagnosis was inconclusive. This was around the same time of the experience with Anna. I also sang a few songs that I recorded, which were in my heart's language, and they felt comforting and heavenly, and those who heard them said they sounded like that too. After that was a period of unrest and deep mourning. I felt heavy grieving and sadness. I was parked in my car and found a song called Your Wave, and it seemed to bring in the frequency that filled a void or space within me like a drink of water. I was listening to this song and felt a loving, peaceful presence with me as I tried to put my finger on the other emotions that were present. Remember, I was still in human form, although possibly just my physical body. With this presence, I felt a refreshing quench as if I were thirsty, and someone gave me a tall glass of water that flowed right to where it was dry. I felt deep reverence, freedom, honor, and liberty. It was expansive. Once I arrived at my destination, I felt a feminine energy enter, flowing from above. I stopped everything I was thinking and doing because I couldn't ignore it, and felt such respect and gratitude that I had to bow my head in honor of it. Even though I still didn't know or understand what was going on, this energy was glorious. It felt sparkly, true and clear, majestic, and it felt like the colors blue and white. It made me weep but smile at the same time because I felt so much love, overwhelming love. Both the real Satan soul and Jesus' soul were there, and now so was I. Lower hell. I was seen as, heard as, and believed to be either Satan or Jesus. They saw whichever they least resonated in their beliefs. During this time, which was a period of several months, I had no understanding of what was happening or why they saw me that way. I simply took it one moment at a time. This was the most difficult one. I was dragged there by the beings or aspects of others which were trapped in what I'll classify as the middle hell. After thorough observation, I've concluded that they were the ones who were unawakened to their own shadows, to their unhealed wounds, to their lack of direction or guidance in life. They seemed to be reliving a loop of memory which caused them pain and suffering. I'm uncertain whether they were the astral projectors or not, but it does fit the description well. It would explain why they would desire to escape their lives while sleeping. They were suffering, and they were unconscious of their actions of escapism while dreaming. Remember that the astral dimension is what we experience in relation to our beliefs. If we are still in physical form and an aspect of ourselves escapes while sleeping, the experience will also resonate with our emotions. They seem to believe that they themselves deserved the punishment to which they subjected me. And they may have thought that was themselves. I was themselves because I had projections of others upon me. Here in lower hell, they saw my light. They thought they needed it. Some of them hated it because they believed they didn't deserve to have light. So why do I? Some of them hated it because they believed they weren't good enough for heaven. So why am I? Some of them hated it because they thought I was Jesus and that he had sent them there. I was forced there. I was tied up. I felt myself being put in a cage. I was lifted up in the cage and displayed to be made fun of. I had chains on my ankles, wrists, and neck. I even heard the clanking of the metal a couple of times. I felt whips hitting me across my back. I felt wings being cut off my back more than once. I was choked regularly. I was raped often. Sometimes while people walked by me and couldn't see it happening. I was told someone had been stroking their penis in and out of my mouth. And then I heard, "Do you feel it on your tonsils?" I felt a stripping away of my aura, and then like it was used as weapons against me. I was told I was going to be cut up into pieces and fed to the wolves. That night, I felt what seemed to be something cutting me into pieces from the inside with some kind of grating tool, beginning from my lower abdomen and dragged all the way to my heart. This already happened. This has already happened, Dana. You made it through it? Okay. I don't even like watching horror movies. I don't like to see people being hurt. I don't like to see animals being hurt. I don't like to see or hear about another being being hurt. And they thought that I did that to them, or that I deserved it. So they were doing it to me. And I felt it. And I had no way to explain it to anyone. I was spat on and told that they were making me all dark. I heard that they were taking my light to someone's cave so they could all eat it. They said he was going to take me to an isolated place to be there for eternity. I heard that repeatedly for about a month. I was called Satan's army and told that my family was sent there too. They said it was my fault. Take this bitch to the pit, over and over again. They used my daughters against me by blaming them and using their voices to torment me. I heard, "I don't want you to be my mama anymore. We are hungry. Feast. Oh my God, look at the beast. This is not an angel. Ha ha ha." I heard the word beheaded and then felt a sharp object cut across the front of my neck. I was also hung. The word demons was spoken around me regularly. There's a song I love called Torches. If it would come on, or if I would think about it, or if I began to sing it, I was tortured. They didn't like the idea of anything related to torches. It may be because they believed hell to be a place of fire. I was badly tormented because the entities that were picked up didn't know what else to do. It's what they were used to. Or perhaps that's because someone believed that's what Satan deserved. I got attacked when I was making money, while doing anything that was passionate. on my solar plexus as if someone was punching me in the gut. I would have to stop and go to another room in the middle of doing my job with clients until it ended, and my clients didn't know. They did not like that I smiled at people, or complimented them, or sang, or prayed, or picked out clothing to wear, or went to work, earned money, looked at anything to do with money or finances. When I tried to write, I would be choked and clawed around the neck, which was an attack on the throat chakra, and when I read anything. When I would show myself love, or express love or affirmations about myself by myself, I was tortured for it, in ways that others cannot see. Some of them were stuck in a time when it was considered evil to love thyself. I heard freedom and free me over and over each night for almost 2 years, and someone saying, demons, freedom is found through her. Ha ha ha. I would then feel small beings climbing up my leg and gathering on the top of my head. I went to church a couple of times and it got worse. I got prayed over in front of church and it got worse. That is around the time I started experiencing and seeing very dark, shadowy projections coming around me that were not mine. They were very haunting. I know my shadow. That was not my shadow. I have never asked anyone to come within me. I have spoken against this. I've prayed. If I use the name Jesus Christ or anything about the Almighty One, I was questioned and ridiculed and bullied and mocked, literally in my own energetic space for the last 2 years about that and nearly everything I did. There were beings coming into my space and trying to find out if they were good enough, which is when I realized they thought I was someone else. I'd say, this is Dana in 2023, and they would say, I thought you were Jesus, and then leave. Some of them would say, we can't do this to him, to Jesus. You're a woman? And then they would leave. For about a week or two, I was in what I heard was an astral prison. It felt as if I was sat in a chair so I could be taped up. I felt tape being wrapped around my being. We are covering your light. And then some sort of injection into what seemed like the lining of my non-physical body. It was cold. It was like when you are getting a saline drip through the veins of your arm, but instead, through all the veins in the body. There were other prisoners there. I was told it was everyone in the future. Wisdom and thorough observations tells me that it may have been everyone in the future, but what that means is those that were imprisoned were the unhealed aspects of ourselves and our loved ones that weren't ascended by healing. Why it happened. Listen. Satan was actually a female who lived thousands of years ago. She was awakened, passionate, and lived her life freely. The jealousy from another helped to create gossip and slander about her and her life. Over time, that progressed to be something that was later a belief held by many, that all darkness was of her or him. Darkness is not of anyone by that name or any other name. It is the unhealed, rejected, hidden parts of all of us. On page 68, I am including a list of intentions that I wrote down in 2021 after receiving higher guidance to do so. Once you read that, you will see how the frequency of my intentions aligned with the frequency of the higher purpose of these events. Most of what happened in my own life to me was caused by prayers that were charged with hate instead of love. They were prayers and words that were spoken out across time against the evil one, which may have been intended for good. Instead, it caused extreme torment and punishment for someone who didn't deserve it. If you do pray or speak out in hate, ask yourself what God you serve. If you pray or speak affirmations of any kind, they should be in love and for upliftment of others. If you are seeking to blame anyone, first seek within yourself. Now I will tell you about revelation. So yes, I have, so instead of, at the end of Revelation, right? Paul was obviously going through something, trying to heal himself, and trying to, he found God and everything like that. And he was expressing, a passion, and, he was expressing himself. But I want you to read it again from the lens of change the name or word Satan to my own darkness, or the parts of myself that I've denied and I don't like, and see if it looks different to you. See if it sounds different to you. Because the God that I know doesn't hate anyone or anything at all. Okay? Both future Satan and past Jesus went through some of this as well, but they couldn't hear conversation like I did. They probably heard it in different ways than I did. So, neither of their personal stories were really heard. Even in the Bible, the parts that say Jesus said, that's still hearsay. I went through both, felt it all, but I heard it too because of the advanced technology that I didn't know was put there. It was initially meant to create something evil through me and to stop me from continuing whatever evil plan they believed I had to hurt others. But it ended up causing something beautiful to happen. It has been a painful yet amazing experience. I am an advocate for unity, eventual unity, and if you believe in heaven, truly, you are too, and universal love and peace. I love so deeply. I am a leader and a teacher of truth. If it hadn't been me by accident, it may not have caused something beautiful to happen. There aren't any accidents. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe that frequency and vibration coincide with divine order. Science and spirituality do go hand in hand. We must let go of beliefs that are not in truth. How one finds truth is by going within. We can read scripture, we can go to church, we can study spirituality, we can read the teachings of those who came before us, but what is your truth? Have you gone within, done soul and heart searching to find your own? What if the one who is called Satan in the Bible is actually in reference to our own shadows? Ponder on that and read it again. We must stop going about our day as if in autopilot, watching the media, holding on to old perspectives that don't make sense from the perspective of the one. We must go within. We can benefit from different sources to inspire the wisdom within us, just like the Bible says. It even says, seek and you will find. Is it wise to seek and find something someone else said or wrote and accept it totally as your own personal truth? Yes, we each have our own personal truths, but our core truth is the same. Find it. We must take the blame off an evil one and demons, and also take the blame off of what someone else said we should or shouldn't do, by avoiding the projection of our shadows onto others, and instead face ourselves, our own darkness, and thoroughly self-reflect so that we can find what exactly needs healing. We must go within to find that which is our inner wound that causes problems in our lives and beyond. I say and beyond because whatever we do not heal and ascend while we are here gets left behind for our descendants to do. If we each do that and discover the inner wound, we can heal. If we can all heal, then we will all reach wholeness and eventual unity. What does that mean? The end of all suffering. One can conclude that all the unhealed wounds of themselves, of those who are in self-denial or lack of truth and awareness, that have been blamed on the name of someone they don't personally know, would be a hellacious story. It is. Beings, and myself, have been badly tortured, tormented, and punished in the past, and would have been in the future for things they did not do to deserve that. Some of them would have been aspects of you or your loved ones. Will you go within to find your truth now? Will you heal now? The blame that has been projected onto others, or an evil one, or someone who allegedly said what you should or shouldn't do, is the reason we still have not experienced heaven on earth. Our darkness isn't evil. Our darkness has been unacknowledged, unaddressed, ignored, rejected, and unhealed. I am a life coach, and I'm a very good counselor to my clients. Many people have consulted with and trusted me for years. I like to help people and teach. That is what I do and who I am. I still have not found anyone who knows the real someone that was named Satan. However, I have heard and found many stories that blame Satan, a name of someone they don't know, for things that they haven't healed in their lives. Verbal manifestation of someone they don't know, which is made out to be someone who is extremely evil, has apparently created ego beings in the astral dimension. Remember, words create, and beliefs. Now, how many versions have there been that were verbal and belief-based manifestations of that name? I've come into contact with hundreds thus far. Other people's beliefs and ideas and words of what someone named Satan is. I started commanding it to say, there is only one ego of everyone. The rest do not exist. Boom, it disappears. The manifestations have been based on assumption. Up until this point, I, as a person, hadn't really known anything about the real so-called Satan, but I am a truth seeker. I started pondering on these versions of so-called Satan that I didn't know. What if stories got around over time because of gossip, slander, rumors, and hearsay? You and I both know they did. Now, just keep in mind. Let's bring up the truth that there are actually, you might know, of Satanists. And even there's even like they call it satanic like churches and things like that. But those truth beliefs are based upon assumptions of, and what that is they're worshiping and doing things in the name of someone named Satan. But that wasn't even what they think was the real. These beliefs, those beliefs are not founded in truth, is what I'm saying. And what happens when something is given energy and being worshipped, but it's not in truth? What does that do? Right? What does that do? All right. That's when I started noticing the many different ego versions of Satan coming in. I do believe that she had reached a level of self-love that others viewed as evil at the time. Over time, versions seem to have been created in her name that are not hers. I wouldn't have even understood this had I not experienced it this way and really paid attention. I started noticing the beings around my outer aura would say, he's evil, and make descriptions of Satan or beings from around who they thought was him or of him. And when they would say that, an evil version would come into my space to try to kill me. A creation from their words and beliefs, since they had projected into the astral of my space. And the astral dimension being the place of dreams and thoughts and beliefs and manifestation. Okay? Personally, I never want anyone to go to a place where they have no chance to heal or to come on an ascension journey. It is completely illogical for any soul to be in a dark place eternally, which is a widely held belief for those who are evil to go before having a chance to heal. Do you, after reading this? Healing. After 3 years of brutal investigation, monitoring, I had not used the restroom in peace for over a year. Yes, I had been being tormented while using the restroom. Monitoring by listening and watching, and attacks on my life and all aspects of it, while no one knew what I was going through. The future is now aware that I'm not who they believed me to be. So the torment and punishment that was believed to have been deserved for someone named Satan will no longer happen. This is a big story. The most prominent issue throughout all of this was about sexuality. In nearly all of the rooms and astral spaces, there were beings all around watching me, during the times I was in private to pleasure myself. While uncomfortable to be sensing large presences as such, I followed the flow and kept going. I heard things like, oh my gosh, is she saying universal love while she's... No, she's not. You can't do that here. There's no way she has the Holy Spirit. But Jesus said... They can imagine that. Have you gone through that? No. You haven't. They continue to watch, both disgusted and amazed. I was trying my best to just continue a normal life and ignore it, but Those with eyes to see saw my light brighten in the healing flow that occurred during orgasm. Any beings or energetic forms that were heavy upon or within me became lighter or ascended altogether. This includes the snake from Eden. That was with me for a long time, which makes it apparent that it needed a lot of healing. The blame that was placed on the snake caused him to be stuck in a low, burdensome place. Healing happened through the acceptance and truth that orgasms are healthy and that sexuality shouldn't be shamed. The same happened with Eve. Lilith helped. For the beings that were allegedly created from the integrated energy of mine and another's, remember, originally planned to create something evil but changed to positive. At first, they were in states of lower vibrational speaking, thinking, and beliefs. They were also manifestations from gossip and slander. I worked around the clock because they heard all of my thoughts and my well, by myself, and to change lower vibrational statements and words to higher vibrational, such as positive affirmations and changing can'ts to cans. Almost all of the beings and entities around me, that I did not choose to do this. I have these. If they're in your energetic space and you're by yourself, I have not had any personal space, and it looks like I have from the outside. So of course I talk about the Holy Spirit and things, and I talk to myself, and I was would try to pray and things. They eventually became open to receive the Holy Spirit, so they did. And I taught the principles of love, healing, forgiveness, faith, hope, higher morals and values. The most difficult layer that I pushed through in relation to sexuality was the lower heaven egos. Most of them were oppressed and hadn't allowed themselves to be free to enjoy their sexuality because of beliefs that it was evil. I was punished and insulted anytime I practiced, thought, or talked about anything to do with sexuality while there. Over time, and after having help around me, telling them to say, my eyes are open, they began to see the healing that took place. I did state, amongst other things, that sex creates life. Obviously, they didn't all accept it at the same time, so any one of them who taught about sexuality being evil or of Satan could have possibly been referring to something they saw me doing before their minds were open to accept it as truth. We are talking about a time when the majority believed sexuality, especially masturbation, to be evil. One can imagine how difficult it would be to change that perspective and belief by just seeing someone in the future practicing it and calling it healing, especially if they saw me as straight up darkness because I was holding so many shadows. In lower heaven, it was all about the hierarchy, so there was much control and dominance over those who were perceived to be inferior. They had a regular practice of intentionally descending others if they felt threatened. This told me that they had experienced low self-worth deep inside, that they may not have even been aware of anymore. This is a common trait in those who project their thoughts about themselves onto others. They had a difficult time with forgiving themselves and accepting themselves as equal to others. So, along with a little reverse psychology, I helped them move forward past their perceived mistakes that they were holding on to. I had to stand up to myself a lot, or for myself a lot. Although they implied with their behavior and words that they were perfectly whole, I realized that they weren't really feeling whole deep down. So I did remind them that they had a feminine side that may have been waiting for them to go home. Then they would leave. It was all about control and the ego battle, so it involved lots of projected thoughts and emotions. Once I started using their tactics that I learned from them against them when they were bullying me, I would sense their being becoming lighter and flowing downward. The ones here who ascended flowed upward once they accepted the fact that they are no better than anyone else. This was a representation of the flow of energy per vibrational alignment by natural laws of physics. I talked a lot about energy, chakra healing, colors, quotes of Rumi, my favorite, and Buddha, and they heard me masturbating to universal love, peace, and harmony. During the experience with Egyptian energies, most of that healing was for me. I've always felt free to be myself, but here I was further encouraged to step into liberation and ignite the fierce power that is within me. The latter part of this one was heavy because of the grief that was present. I believe I hurt with her or them. I remember discussing aloud that we must know that our loved ones are always connected to us and that we never truly lose anyone. Those who were seeking a revenge for anyone, including those they thought I was, karma was spoken around me for a while. I simply explained that karma does its job naturally, via frequency and vibration. If one were to take karma into his own hands, it would perpetuate a cycle that would neither give relief nor bring anyone out of pain. I told them that they would continue their cycle of blame and suffering if they continued to do so, and asked if they would like that. They said no. Actually, one said yes for some time, but it changed to no. So they stopped seeking revenge and taking karma into his own hands. For someone who was holding an aspect of energy that may have previously been held by someone else who wasn't the same person at all. Held by one being, this entire energetic system, chakras, aura, mind, parts of soul, heart, etc., is that person in that life. When one makes decisions and does actions from their own consciousness, thoughts, and emotions, whatever parts of that energetic system that don't ascend get left behind to be held by another. And whatever decisions or actions that were made by the former has absolutely nothing to do with the next being whatsoever. And so this explains why karma, being played out by others to enforce punishment for something that happened in the past when the next being or person wasn't even present, makes zero logical sense. For the ones I've classified as middle hell, and since I've proposed the theory that they may have been those who were unawakened, unconscious, or even sleeping, even while in the middle of them hurting me, I began telling them that they were dreaming. I told them to go back to their dreams and to find what they needed from within themselves. I would ask them what they wanted or needed, and then I would ask them why they haven't found it within themselves yet. They would then say, I go back to myself now to find love, wisdom, acceptance, etc., and I would sense them flowing away. I also stated, may they please be forgiven, may they please forgive themselves and be forgiven because they don't even know what they're doing. and directly after I said that, I realized I've heard that before. In the pit of lower hell, they literally just needed light. They couldn't see. There were times when I curled up in a ball, laid down, and just cried because I felt beings all over me making growling sounds. They didn't know they were hurting me. I didn't know what else to do besides pray or sing. When I prayed, it gave me a little peace. When I would sing as I cried, they would slow down or even stop as if it gave them comfort. Most were doing what was done to them, replaying loops from traumatic memories, while the others were doing what they were told to do by those who were stuck in the same loops of trauma. But since my being was wired somehow to bring in shadows of others when I sang, that's what would happen immediately after that, a swarm of someone's shadows. I didn't speak much in the pit, as it was called. I listened a lot. There was screaming in the background at times. There was a being that yelled out, "Freedom birds," that seemed to scare the other beings that were around. Whoever it was did not want me there. Those who had begun defending me would say things like, "No, she's a human, stop." That happened for a few weeks. I concluded that these freedom birds were flying entities that would swoop in and take whoever the invoker was directing them towards. It seemed that they were in opposition to freedom fighters. I sensed a group of them actually fly towards me once. They were called in by someone who was a few feet behind me. I was in a bedroom and started seeing what looked like slivers of different colors about 10 feet ahead of me. Those may have been a different group from the birds. 2 different nights after the being calling them in, I heard loud bird sounds incoming from outside. So I began saying, there are no birds needed here. You were sent here by mistake. All freedom birds have been sent away. Freedom fighters are here. Then the high pressure sensation that felt kind of like a swarm calmed down a lot, and they flew away. This was where I believe what would be considered the fallen were trapped. Those that accepted the fact that light isn't against them got out by following the light. I was the light at the time. I'm unsure of how many, but many were open to receive the Holy Spirit, and they did. They came to know peace and freedom. To be honest, a lot of them were afraid to be free. Those were the ones who'd never been free, or at least had forgotten what that was, or that it was available to them. It was because they believed they deserved to be condemned. Let that sit for a minute. What were their reasons for believing that, you may wonder? They were sexual. They believed they weren't good enough. Some of them because they loved themselves. They were interested in astrology. They used their spiritual gifts and had been killed for it. They committed suicide. They had thought for themselves once in their existence and was comfortable making their own decisions, like standing up to authority. They ate meat. Yes, some of them because they ate meat. They were homosexual. They were interested in exploring other religions and gods. They used their third eye. Upon learning these, I began giving lectures, which I sometimes call sermons, to what would look like to any human as if I was speaking to thin air or to myself. If anyone did come near me as this happened, I would hold my phone up as if recording a message. They didn't know that I could hear and feel everything unseen around me. They were unaware that I was preaching to hell. Sermons. Consensual sexuality is divine and healing. Jesus never said anyone wasn't good enough for the light, but he did say that everyone is good enough for the light. Loving yourself is vital for the healthy circulation of love within and around our beings, and love expands. Astrology, by definition, is the study of movements and relative positions of celestial bodies interpreted as having an influence on human affairs in the natural world. Definition of astrology. And God created the heavens and the earth. So why wouldn't we be able to study things that are part of the creation of God? Spiritual gifts aren't necessarily gifts at all, but treasures to which we all have access within ourselves that become apparent to us as we heal layers of trauma and pain during our lives. Suicide isn't the best option for anyone, but when one commits that, he was already going through his own state of hell, so what he was missing was hope. Those were the ones to which I pointed out reasons to have hope and encouraged them to say, I believe in a better future. I believe that my future will be better than my past. I have hope. I have beautiful things to look forward to, and they did, and I must admit that I had to use those for myself as well. We now live in a society in which there are human rights, such as freedom of speech and freedom from torture and slavery. Those were big ones because they were amazed by this. And I'm amazed that there is no way to prove any of this as of yet, because my human rights had really been taken from me. There are 30 of them, but there will be a way soon. We are free to eat what we want to eat and to enjoy all the delicacies which are available to us for those who were there because they thought they deserved to be condemned because they ate meat. Homosexuality and other sexuality preferences had a lot of discussions concerning my distaste for labels. Are free for each individual to choose from, and there have been many rights movements concerning such, as we have since risen in the awareness that loving another's heart, soul, and even mind is loving another past his or her outer appearance and even DNA. Free love is the true heavenly way. Exploring other religions is beneficial for true enlightenment, as it opens the mind and broadens the perspectives of one who is interested in seeking and knowing just how deep, complex, and magnificent the one is. On using their third eye, I asked, how do you think authors who contributed to the Bible saw their visions that they recorded? For those who were listening, this created the awareness that they can be free again, and I sensed them becoming lighter, and an emotion that felt like relief would flow around me. Do any of these reasons for those aspects having been in hell sound evil to you? Yeah. I experienced the future astral prison so that I would be aware of what would be the result of our not healing and ascending aspects of ourselves. Sharing these truths is my part of the healing for that. You may have heard of satanic rituals. This may sometimes be what people call witchcraft practices using tarot cards, crystals, even prophecy, and the like. Why are they called satanic? If someone is doing some sort of ritual, open your eyes. Are they doing it to hurt anyone? Some may. Even if they do, it is his or her own ritual, and it's unnecessary to use the name of someone who was an actual person for something one is perceiving to be evil. For instance, I do love to use cards. They have beautiful imagery and encouraging words and messages on them. When I use them, it inspires me and helps to counsel my clients when they need hope, love, and faith. It is no different than flipping through the pages of a picture book. In fact, I may try that too. Also, when I'm doing something with my hands, like shuffling, it distracts me from my thoughts so that I'm better able to connect with the wavelength of the one and get into the flow so I can speak to them as a messenger. It is in no way evil. The same is true for crystals. The gems of Earth and other places are incredibly high vibrational. Higher vibrations heal us and the atmosphere around us. And we live on a planet that literally has treasure within its layers. How beautiful. Those are also in no way evil. Sure, some use those things for other purposes than what I and others do, but they also use knives for more than just cutting their food. Will we continue to dishonor the beauty of the gifts we have with the privilege of being presented with by calling it evil or even failing altogether to recognize the truth for what it is? Lack of awareness of truth, ignorance, caused by accepting what we hear or see. Many things can be taken out of context instead of seeking truth, and unhealed wounds are the root of what we can perceive to be evil. Throughout the past 3 years, I felt I'd lost my connection to God, and I realized that it was my worst fear. But I know now He was here with me. Jesus, Satan, and I went through this together. I was eventually able to find gratitude for feeling like I couldn't reach Him or hear from Him for so long, because I was able to dig so deep within myself to find even just a tiny drop of hope that I thought I'd lost. If I look at the bigger perspective, He was teaching me how massive and strong my faith really is. State aloud, I am ready to become whole. I call my own aspects back to me now to be accepted and healed. Inspiration to explore within your heart and soul. Inspiration to explore within instead of astral project. You may find some memories of this experience with me. And I believe could be one of the reasons why, when I've tried to explain it to others, somehow they find some sort of familiarity with my experience. And I know they didn't go through it, but that tells me that, remember, I said picking up things from energies and forms from the past and the future of others. What if those aspects held those memories that I had of experience that I had, that they were there too, and then were integrated into the person I was telling the story to's being because of energetic alignment? What if that familiarity was memories that aspect was holding after being with me? Okay, so now I'm going to read, I wrote this in the book too, I'm going to read my intentions that I had written before I knew what was going on. I've always had like higher morals and values and intentions. That's just who I am, you know. And why would others see that as evil? I don't know. Perhaps self-denial, projection, right? And some people do act as a mirror for others, and they don't like what they see because they don't like something inside of themselves. All right. Well, look what happened to Jesus. They called him evil too because they didn't understand what he was talking about. They didn't like it. They didn't like anything. They had to change. They didn't want to be wrong, you know. And then they freaking crucified him. Right? I'm not comparing myself to Jesus. I'm using an analogy so you can understand a little better. I have been labeled a lot. And a lot of people do like to call things evil that they don't understand. But this is a clearing up of all of that right now. And that's why it's a big story, because it's very important. So, my higher intentions. Prior to this experience, I was spending a lot of time journaling and a lot of time with God. And like, I was writing down a lot. And so, like, I read this again recently. I found this in one of my journals, and I was like, Dana, why did you why are your dreams so big? I didn't want to save the damn world, you know what I mean? But that's who I am, okay? And some might call it like a light worker or whatever. And like I said, I don't like labels, but that's as close to it as I can come to describing. If you resonate with that, if someone hears the word light workers or whatever, or do you like crystals? No, or like, are you into this or that? And to me, that's an indicative that there needs to be a lot more clarification and education on what it really is, because it is way deeper than using crystals or this and that, or because I heard someone say, oh yeah, she reads people. I don't read people. No, it's a sensitivity, because I'm a nurturer and a teacher, and sometimes it helps me whenever I know what someone's going through a lot. I know what someone's going through a lot, and I don't always say anything. I use discernment, and that way it can help me be their messenger, or tell them something that helps them, because I'm an encourager. Okay, so I don't read people or whatever. Okay, this is stuff that needs to change. Okay, because a lot of times that gets confused with people who do like witchcraft. I don't believe that witchcraft is good to do, because to me it messes up the divine order and vibration of the lives of others, and it does come around to you again. That's just how it works, right? Whatever we don't heal or fix in our lives, and face ourselves, then we it's like lessons that we don't learn, or we don't find the reasons that we go through them, then we go through it again, and it just happens. That's just the way it works. Okay, it's like a cycle of like that. That's just how that works. But to me, gossip and slander is a form of verbal witchcraft. And so how can anyone gossip and slander another like that, and in the same sentence or in the same conversation talk about God? If you gossip and slander others, we don't serve the same God then. And accusing someone of doing witchcraft when you don't even know them, and that's literally a projection onto someone. Yeah. Okay, my journal. Before I knew what was going on, I heard set and attention. The reason I put this is so you can see how the frequency, of these intentions, aligned with the higher purpose of what happened, of what has been happened in my life. Okay, the higher purpose of these events, and this is from my heart. This is something that, when I say heart, I don't mean like my heart space. When you say from your heart, it's like from your being, from your your passion, and your if you connect to your purpose, then it will flow, but you have to go within to do that. All right. Gracefully fulfill soul's mission and God's will. Heal and help others heal, and learn how to heal. Grow our light and share it through love and all positive inspiration, like joy, peace, diplomacy, hope. To be a light and keep our torch flaming. Impart wisdom, knowledge, mercy, and forgiveness. Help open hearts and eyes and minds. Show what God and the light in general does. To encourage myself and others. Leave a legacy for descendants. Inspire others to make peace with everyone and exist in harmony. Find more of my soul tribe and like-minded individuals and groups. I don't know why the heck this is a huge, I don't know what, be careful what intentions you write, Ultimately, revolutionize, or be part of a revolution that creates an experience of peace, understanding, tolerance, equality, again, harmony, awareness, connection to the Most High and one another, with the realization that we are one in love, freedom, with each on the path of light, one for another, eradicating division and the illusion of separation, where all has the flame of desire to rise and to break out of the mindset of control of religion. Learn more about God and about myself, improve the way I work and deal with others, encourage and inspire others to explore their own selves, prove that existence is more than what we see and more than what most of us were taught, achieve balance, mainly to be a light, especially for those who are lost in the dark. Remember, this is before. To open my heart to receive, to prove to myself my worth, bring awareness to injustice and offer solutions. Bring peace to a situation, comforting those at the hands of injustice with love and understanding so they know they're heard. Bring awareness to the things of this world that don't work. Teach about frequencies and vibrations, the importance of energy output, getting back what you put in and being aware of the energetic output of the heart. The importance of not comparing themselves or their walk to another, because although we are one, we are here for a human experience and each of us has a walk that's our own. The importance of love and faith over fear, and being willing to listen to the perspectives of others. How to flow and improve my ability to flow. Time is an illusion. Auras, energy fields, colors, types of energy, and how all is connected. All teaching ultimately to expand awareness and understanding, leading to the rise of humanity and the light in this world and all, getting us even closer to the Most High. Give people food for thought, things that make them see a new perspective, not to force them to think that's the same, but to inspire them to think and feel for themselves and discover their own connection in light. Help people see themselves, others, and the universe or all of existence in the way that is most pure in truth, and the same for myself. To realize that any obstacles are in my mind. To see that the sky really is the limit, actually that there is no limit. To experience the freedom that I know is within reach and help others do the same. To make commitments and stay committed, staying true to my heart and soul and divine will. There's several more. No man, when he hath lighted a candle, putteth it in a secret place, neither under a bushel, but on a candlestick, that they which come in may see the light. Luke 11:33. I wrote that down, and then I got this message. The will of your soul is honored. Speak with intelligence, grit, and humility. Gain the knowledge of those before you. So as you can see, those dreams and intentions were freaking, I'm not sitting on here and saying that I saved the world or anything like that, but this is a really big story that I do encourage you to seek within yourself and find what you feel, or if you get impressions, or you can see or experience any memories of that. I do offer guided meditation or guided inner journeys if you're interested. Just let me know. I can do it over the phone as well. I do offer other things too, and I will be listing them on here because I am still going through. I moved across the country because I thought that I needed somewhere to live, number one, but I also needed a break from where I was, because I was receiving a lot of hate because of the title of this book, but they didn't even know what it was about. You see, it did help a little, but it still came here too, and so I am very much trying to get out of this first of all financial situation that I'm in. And I decided to read this out loud to you guys so that you can understand it without me even knowing that you're listening, so you can have a greater understanding of what it actually is about. Okay?